Good evening, Edwin, and good evening, Kalina.
Good evening, TReb. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing very well. I know that you have several questions to ask on the behest of Edwin, and whenever you are ready to begin, you may.
Yes, I have 5 questions from Eddie. Actually, 6 questions. His first question is, when will replicators be a common home appliance?
Yes! When you are looking at replicators, when it comes to the concept, and if you are defining a replicator to be something that reads the atomic imprint and blueprints of a certain object and then replicates them from other atomic structures that are literal, manifestational tools, in this concept, in the way that your energy is projected, in the way that your future is projected, we would express that within a 30-year period, it will be much closer. Within 50 years, it is a guarantee that in the energy you are in within, now that it will manifest more deeply. But understanding one concept is very essential, as we are aware that Edwin is already understanding that any concept of what the future will bring must only be indicated by concepts of the future in that moment. And we understand that he shares this with many other entities from time to time. So looking at this concept, when you are looking at the energy that is now 30 years within the future, is a probability that is within the 35 to 42% range. When you are looking at 50 years, it is in the 73% to 81% range. But looking at that in whole, this concept in general can be shifted in quite a very easy turn of time, or an easy turn of momentum, understanding that as you are projecting into the future, when you change your mind, then you are shifted to a different reality. You are in a new timeline, so to speak. So as you are moving your own energy one way to shift or another, you are literally taking yourself out of that specific experience and exchanging it through the oversoul with what we would call the twin soul, which is an entity that is connected to the oversoul that exchanges the realities. This is the mechanism that RDF has shared very recently with many entities. So when you are considering that changing your energy changes this probability, all of the concepts that we will share of what could happen is greatly dependent on your own ability to manifest this reality.
Edwin's second question is, will the continent of Atlantis ever rise to the surface again?
Yes, this is a very great question. As you are looking at the concept of Atlantis, in this essence of the continental ground or the area of land which it was in, it very certainly can rise again. This concept again is building off what reality you are going down, what timeline, what decisions you are making. But in this specific region, within 11,000 year period, it will surface, but human entities will be able to perceive it much earlier than this. We understand that you have found certain portions and certain remnants of the Atlantean era, but understand also that one of the main central areas within the Atlantean continent was very much technology based, as the entities who were connecting with the Atlanteans were perceived as manifestational geniuses. So as they are moving through their technology, much of the technology was destroyed by the water that come on top of it. So in your own search for Atlanteans and in your own search for Atlantis, finding the technology first and then secondly understanding how it was technology, as to most of your human eyes it would appear to be natural stone and crystal portions of something, and you're not quite sure how to figure this out. But seeing that it was technology and finding the way will be your very first steps to cementing your proof of Atlantis in this moment. Many entities have looked into Atlantis and believe that they have found certain proof, and some have not. But in the Atlantis energy, it comes into the collective, forwarded more so now than ever, and in your perceptions of meditation, this is where you will find some of the greatest and most accurate perceptions until the physical attributes of what was left behind are there.
And this next question, Eddie says it's for him. So I think it's a personal question. He wants to know, when will people be able to change their gender identity to the one they prefer?
Yes! In this essence, you are doing so right now. There are abilities to change the identities of the sex of each entity in each moment now, as you are using the surgeries or hormones for your own manifestational quality. But in the essence of changing just through thought and consciousness, this is also occurring in subconscious levels throughout the history of your time. The independent connection and the metamorphosis, or what most of you would call perhaps a mistake in the DNA, or even more so a mutation in DNA, causes certain attributes to happen. But as you see hermaphrodites being grown into your Earth Collective, this is a desire, a will of consciousness, but this is done before the human body incarnates. So if you are looking at being born as a male and then desiring to be a female, or vice versa, as you are just using your consciousness, this can occur within several hundred years, perhaps in 370 to 550. Again, this is very dependent on 370 is more based towards the lower percentages of 20 to 31, while the higher percentages are more based upon the concepts of working within the later periods of time, perhaps as you would see it, 57 to 64. And in these percentages, as further you move along, the more that you are able to read consciousness, before humans are ready for the type of physical changes that are manifested. This is something that is not very common with fourth density entities, so there is quite a bit of work to be done within a full instantaneous physical change. But being a fourth density entity, you are able to build to that essence very slowly through your own fourth density self the further that you integrate into it.
That's interesting, Trev. And I just wanted to add as a side note, I have a dear friend ever since childhood who has always felt like a male in a female's body. And I was wondering, I've always wondered if my friend and perhaps Edwin and other friends of his that feel this particular leaning toward one identity over another with gender, if maybe they have experienced a large majority of their past lives and maybe in the future as that particular gender. How common would that be?
Yes, this is very insightful of you and very connected to your intuition state. As you are perceiving the sexuality of many entities who are born into one sex but feel as another, there are quite a few of these entities that are integrated into the physical body that are more used to being the opposite gender, and this is why the feelings are very strong. We would say that in this time period, in the area that you call 2015, that approximately 20 to 35% of the entities who are being born and who have already been born, who are experiencing, are dealing with that as their issue. But the vast majority of the other percentages, on top of the ones that we have previously spoke of, these entities are either here for one of two reasons: for the experience of being in a different physical body, of what their energy tells them, what their energy feels as, what they desire within their own inner self to feel as and to be as, Or it is commonly connected to the concepts of working through an energy that is more feminine by default in a masculine body or masculine in a feminine. This can occur for many different reasons. It does not necessarily link back to previous incarnations, but understanding the way that your past works with your present, it is not you yourself reaching back to the past and pulling this energy toward you. What is occurring is the energy is already present within you. There is at least unconscious or subconscious concepts within yourself that attach to that energy, and then it opens yourself up to the most vibrationally fit previous incarnations.
And I'm not sure how I got this thought. It might be something the 103 told me, but also that, for instance, if one is having this experience, we know that women, especially in past history, have faced a lot of oppression, and one of the ways that you can heal your relationship with the masculine energy is to incarnate and love yourself in that male energy and have that male energy nurture the female energy which you identify with. So finding a way to embrace both, I think that could be a very, very powerful healing experience. I know for me, I'm very much working on both of my male and female sides because I've been male and female a lot, and just depends on how I'm feeling. One day I wish I was male, and another day I could wish I was female, but I can see the benefits of both the energies and how they both need to be nurtured.
Yes, this is very correct as well. Your connection with the Arcturian entities are getting more clear to you, and as you are bringing this in, it is an insight that stays within your own heart. We have always suggested to bring about a balance between all energies, and in the balance we do not mean a 50-50%. What we mean is the way of your true alignment, to find this and accept the other portions that is not similar to your energy. So if you are 85% masculine, you will be very balanced and very well, as long as you are not pushing out the 15% feminine energy.
Absolutely, and feminine energy is very beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful and very great as well.
All right, let's see. Thank you, Treb. I think that's great. I loved that question. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Our next question is, who were the Greek and Roman gods, and will they ever return to us?
Yes! When you are looking at the Greek and Roman gods, these entities are a vast amount of different entities. When the original concept of the Greek gods came into play, many of the pagan gods were from the same race. These entities were a human race that comes from an area that is known as Epsilon Boetis. And Epsilon Boetis is one area in which these entities brought forth their own human forms, and in the way of looking up to these entities, as you could understand very well now, knowing the history of your planet and knowing many of the gods were actually extraterrestrials, these entities were looked at as if they were magic and looked upon as if they were special because of their ability not only in technology but consciousness, and consciousness integrated into technology. So the entities that are from Epsilon Boetis were directly connected to the concepts of Earth in the earlier Greek periods, and the older that the Greek civilization began, the more entities that would come in to the Greek area to co-create or to fight against the Epsilon Boetis. Now, when you are looking at the Roman gods, they are using some of the same gods, but more of their gods were able to spill over as stories being heard from some of the Greek gods and integrating certain attributes to these new entities that were at war with the Epsilon Boetis. When you hear the stories of the Titans, and they were versing the gods from Mount Olympus, these two sets of entities are two warring fractions. The true nature of the entities that come in to fight the Epsilon Boetes is that they were their own mothering race, and this is why the stories and legends were built that the Olympian gods in Roman and Greek cultures, or the gods that were residing over ancient Roman Greece, had a parenting entity that they fought against and defeated.
That's interesting. I always almost hated the Greek and Roman gods with a passion. I wonder, were they very oppressive to the human race?
Yes, we understand your energy here and why you perceive this. In our perception, they were what we would call a more semi-benevolent type 2 entities. They are loving the earth humans in some aspects, appreciating them, teaching them great skills of mathematics, science, agriculture, architecture, and as they are teaching all of these entities certain attributes about this, they are also trying to impose their will of theology upon them. When entities would come outside of the thought process or be very restricted to their old religious beliefs, then these entities would very forcefully push their will upon them, and often you will hear about entities who were punished by the gods. This is when these entities would directly either agitate or fight against these entities, and this is what occurs in the punishment of gods theory for much of that part of the world growing into Christianity.
Yeah, I definitely got that from Zeus. He was my number one favorite one to get boiled about. That's very fascinating. I love that question too. That's amazing.
Yes, and very exciting as well.
Absolutely. Number 5, when will there be peace in the Middle East?
Yes! Looking into the Middle East, this area is what most of you would call a root chakra area. When you are looking at the root chakra area of the entirety of the world, this area is known to be in Africa and the Middle East. The Middle East is a very important energy due to the fact that during the energy expulsion of the root chakra, much of the negativity pours into what you would call the negative ley lines or ley line negative post, just as you have a positive post to your battery and a negative post. In these negative feeding, many of them come into the same concept, and all of them meet, conjoin, and empty out into much of the Middle Eastern portion. It is not meant to dump negativity in that area, but the way that the world consciousness is, just as a human physical body, it must have a root chakra, it must have all 7 chakras, and the root chakra of your planet is dealing with what? Dealing with feelings of safety, feelings of strife and struggle, feelings of negativity and not being safe. So what better to bring into an environment of negativity or not feeling safe than a place that is constantly at struggle? When you are also looking, much of the root chakra energy that is in Africa, there is also 3rd chakra energy. And what does 3rd energy or 3rd chakra energy tell you? It tells you that it is one independent entity versus the rest of the entities around them, or me, myself of sovereignty. And this is why you are combining this area with the root chakra to play with both of those ideas. Although it is the root chakra that causes most of the conflict within that area, it is the 3rd chakra that allows multiple groups to fight against one another instead of one independent group fighting amongst themselves. It is I am this group, you are this group, your ideals are not as mine, I do not feel safe with your ideals, reaching back into the 1st chakra and manifesting conflict from within. What is conflict to begin with? In the mind of humans, it is people not being able to accept and forgive and always judging, and yes, this is true, and yes, this is a part of the energy. But what comes from the manifestation upon a deeper level of the collective consciousness? It is the struggle that each of you have within yourselves, the struggle that you have within your mind and heart, that truly starts the conflict that begins these wars. It is something that shows you that the projection of what energy is within you will always go without you. So when you are looking at any concept that you are playing within yourself, you will always see it projected and played outside of you in your environment around. This is the true nature of how reality is created.
Absolutely. And the Middle East is a very powerful, energetic place. And I feel one thing that we could help with this as a collective is to see the peace that already resides within the Middle East, remembering that, there are families that enjoy dinner, people playing with their children, people praying and turning toward the sun, people, everyday people, just like all of us, and remembering that even though there are some of those things that are going on that we may perceive as very sad and very violent, likewise, there are still always beautiful things going on as well. And I think when we also take that into account, then as a collective, we can realize that the Middle East is filled with a bunch of wonderful, beautiful people as well that are very, very peaceful in the heart and very, very good.
Yes, this is a very true concept. We are very grateful for your perception in this as well.
Thank you. We have one more question from Edwin. He says, when will childbirth no longer be a painful experience for females?
Yes, this can be in just less than 200 years if you desire to have this experience. The more that you are going through the childbirth, the less painful or less struggle becomes of it. What has happened with the Earth Collective, the first and second chakras are imbalanced. This causes pain within the sexual regions. Sexuality being a very important part as well of sexuality, but also with the concept of division of consciousness or the concept of giving birth. This is a trademark second chakra situation. When you are looking at multiplying, whether it be energetically, physically, or the both of these, you are looking at yourself being one part of an energy that is shared with another, that is giving birth, so to say, to an entity so that they may experience and enter the earth consciousness. But when you are looking at relationships with these same entities who are creating children together, you do not see two entities that are truly joining as one to create a larger energy. What it is two separate entities who have differences in concepts, opinions, ideas that are very frequently unaligned within their sexuality. Often they are hurt within their sexuality, as most of the Earth Collective is. And when you are looking at the discomfort and the imbalance in feminine energies for being sexualized and being made to look as sexual objects or to be thought of or desired only for sexual contact, and then you see the masculine energy being very stout and prideful, and the feminine energy will sometimes look into that energy and either use opportunities to connect to it for benefits of themselves or to manipulate with sexuality. And this causes great imbalances of both of these energies. As you have realized, the masculine energy is becoming more prominent in females and the feminine energy is being more prominent in males. This is the Earth's collective way of healing the energies between the two. And once the feminine and masculine energy is truly connected and truly balanced within your planet, the birthing process will be much less painful and much less harmful for the physical body.
Oh yes, it's so beautiful to watch, even from the time I was a kid to seeing the younger males of today. It's very beautiful because to be able to see them embrace and hug each other, and women not just doing things like playing sports, but being more assertive and empowered. It's very beautiful to see all of that.
Yes, and very wonderful as well.
So is there anything more for Eddie that you're picking up in his energy now, that any of his higher self or guides or anything that might be wanting to allude to for him at this moment?
I wish to express to Edwin that in our conversations that we have had with one another, whether it is through other entities or whether it is through the dream states, I have had a very excited time connecting to you. Always looking forward, you're looking forward in the future, always looking around what the corner is next for you. This is something that I find very exciting as you are trying to see, perceive, and create your own next reality. And this is a very exciting concept. What we can tell you for this evening is that we are very grateful to have connected to you, and with that being expressed, we will leave you this evening in love and in light, and we will speak again very soon.
Oh, thank you, Treb, and thank you, Eddie, for your questions. And as Ardif would say to all of us, you are loved.
Yes! Good night.